This time we are talking about my favorite video game based movies. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to yet another video. I know, list videos, but hey, these are really easy for me to knock out, especially since I'm actually fixing to begin to work 12 days straight, so I'm not going to have a whole lot of free time on my hands over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, favorite video game movies. My list for this one is not quite as long as the other one, just because for me it's a little harder to think of video game movies, especially because a lot of what gets classified as a video game movie is something where it's not really based off a video game, but it has a lot of video game references in it. And one of the movies that I'm going to put on this list, I kind of broke that rule, and I'm going to use it because it was just that good. But before I jump into that list, I got to give you the little spiel. If at any point you guys like what you see during the video, please be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you know anytime that we upload new videos. Also be sure to hit that thumbs up. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. So with that said, let's jump right into it. Okay, so first on my list is an OG. It's the one I remember seeing as a kid, and then of course we got the sequel to it many years later, but Tron. I love this movie. Most people probably don't remember, but Tron is actually a video game, and then so are the Light Cycles. I actually used to play the Light Cycle game in my favorite Mexican restaurant as a kid. That place is actually still around today, but that game is not, unfortunately. But yeah, just the really cool use of, at that time, the CGI kind of tech and the lighting to make them try to look like they were inside a computer competing in these games. I always thought it was really cool. And then, of course, you get Tron Legacy so many years later to go back and actually save the main character. His name is escaping me right now, but it's Jeff Bridges, who is awesome. Love him. But yeah, if you've not seen it, definitely check out both. If you've only seen Tron Legacy, I definitely recommend seeing the first one to see the history of that universe. It's actually really cool. Also, you'll probably be amazed at how decent it looks for something that was made in the 80s. So, yeah, Tron. This next one, I love this movie. I still like this movie, even though it may not be the greatest representation, because the animated ones are just better, but that's kind of a cheat code. Mortal Kombat. This came out in the mid-90s, I think 95-ish, somewhere around there. And I was a big fan of the video games. So when this got announced, I definitely knew I wanted to see it, especially because the main theme of the entire movie is probably one of the coolest ever. But yeah, I love martial arts action movies. I always have, and I always will, and that's attributed to my dad and my brother. They're both Hall of Fame martial artists. I took Taekwondo for a little while. I know I don't look like it, but I did for a little while as a kid. So it was always something that was in my family and around me. So all the big martial arts action flicks, that with Jean-Claude Van Damme, with Bloodsport, your Steven Seagal movies, all of those were big parts of my childhood because I would sit there and watch them with my dad and my brother, and those are memories that just they stick out to this day. They're some of my most fond memories. But yeah, so when this came out, of course, I went to see it in theaters first on my own, and then when we got on video, I got to watch it with my dad and my brother, and we had a blast. This is just something that it means something to me, probably more than any other movie on this list, just because of those family ties. So yeah. All right, so this next one I put on this list solely because I understand how much people really like the movies themselves. I've never actually watched them all the way through, but the Resident Evil movies. It's a legendary video game series. Jay, I want to say, is a big fan of 4. That's probably his favorite. That's the one that I've actually played the most. But the movies always seemed really cool. I know they did the Netflix series, which I watched the first episode. Most people said they didn't like the series. Based on what I saw in the first episode, I didn't think it was looking that bad, but I haven't gotten back to watch the rest of it. So, but yeah, what I can remember of the first Resident Evil movie, that's the one I've sat through the most. it was just really cool. But at that time, kind of horror stuff wasn't really my jam. Probably will go back and watch it a little bit more now that I'm starting to enjoy horror and whatnot, and just get over some of my angst with it as a child. So yeah. Anyways, so yeah, Resident Evil. So the next one on my list is one that might be a surprise to some of you guys, but for me, it's actually a surprise that it wasn't more popular and it never got a sequel. It's Prince of Persia. One, I liked the game, but two, this movie was so good. I never understood why it didn't get a sequel, because they could have done so much with this series if they wanted to. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was brilliant, and everyone else in it. I'm a fan of Ben Kingsley, fan of him. Just, I never got why this movie wasn't bigger. It's personally one of my favorites, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, and if you do, be sure to comment back on this video right here and let me know what you thought of it, because personally, I recommend it. Alright, so this next one is definitely, I think, one that's probably on a lot of people's list, but it's Detective Pikachu. Little did you know that Ryan Reynolds voicing Pikachu was the movie you needed until you got it. And it was an epic movie. I loved every second of it. I got to see some of my favorite Pokemon that I had seen from the cartoons. And then I actually never, truth be told, I never knew who Mewtwo was until this movie. So Mewtwo was a fascinating character, but of course Pikachu, you got Charmander and Charizard. I got my favorite. I'm a Psyduck fan. I don't know why, but I've always enjoyed Psyduck. And so the way he was in this movie was perfect for me. So yeah, if you've not seen it, I'd honestly be surprised. I think a lot of people have probably seen that movie by now, especially for no other reason. It's Ryan Reynolds. Alright, so I got two more. This next one is the one that's kind of breaking the rules, because it's not based on a video game, but it literally is a video game being played throughout almost the entire movie, and that is Ready Player One. The callbacks to the video games and all the pop culture icons and movies over the years that are shown in this movie are second to probably none. It is amazing to watch this movie. It is a visual spectacle, but it actually had a really, really good story. All that aside, you know, the fanboying and the fan service that they did, there was actually a really good story in that movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know why I refused to watch it for so long, for whatever reason. Like, and Jay can tell you the story. For whatever reason, must have been in a bad mood that day. I was like, hey man, we got it, and blah, blah, blah. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was like, no, I don't care about that movie. I don't know why. And then I finally sat down and watched it a couple years ago, and I'm like, why? And I told Jay and Jenna from that point, I said, if I'm ever like that again about a movie that you know I will like, just slap me and tell me to sit down and watch it. So yeah, it's a fantastic movie. If you are just a big moviegoer and video game fan, you need to watch it. You'll enjoy the story, but you will enjoy all of the pop culture references from over, God, 30 some odd, probably more than that, years that are in that movie. Alright, you know I'm a big fan of twofers, so that's what the last mention on this list is. It's the most recent. It's the two Sonic the Hedgehog movies. God, are they good. I love Sonic, and when they showed the trailers, I was excited, but I was also cautious, because as good as the trailers looked, as good as Jim Carrey looked being Dr. Robotnik, I knew that it could be something that was easily screwed up, just because of how Sonic in that universe is, how he looks in the video games, and then some of the cartoons that they've done. But they hit a home run both times. The second movie was great because you got Tails and Knuckles. And honestly, Idris Elba as Knuckles is great. I didn't know he had that much humor in him, but he played it so perfectly. So yeah, that's my list. Let me know some of your favorite video game movies. I'm sure there are a lot that I've not mentioned solely because I've just not seen them. I know they're there, but I've just not seen them. So, but regardless of that, I want to know what some of yours are. So please put them down in the comments and let me know. As always, everybody, please, you stay safe, stay healthy. Not sure when this video is going to come out, but have a safe holiday and Christmas with your families, and I will catch you guys next time. Later, everyone.